Module 2. I recall a time at the Hilton Hotel in Paris, that's not far from the Eiffel Tower. I was conducting a class in hypnovision or hypnosis. I'd just gone through a few healing with hypnosis techniques, and I asked for a volunteer. I was going to demonstrate past life therapy to eliminate a problem. A woman stood up, Lily by name, and said she'd like to volunteer. Well, as it turned out, she had a problem with her left hand. She couldn't clasp it into a fist, nor could she raise her left arm much higher than her shoulder, especially if she were holding something. She couldn't reach into a high shelf for a coffee cup, as an example. After all that was explained to the class, I put Lily into a trance. Actually, in hypnosis, it's called a trance. Actually, it was a deep meditation. And I took her back to her earliest memory. I call that a past life immersion. When that was established, I gave her this directive, speaking directly to her inner conscious. Lily, I said, allow your inner consciousness to take you back to a past life that's having an effect on the problem that you have in this life. When you get to that life, you'll be in a place, and you will describe that place, and you will get an impression of whatever event is going on. I then had her jump into the past life, and she instantly reported, I'm in a crowd of people. I'm a little girl. My mother is going to be hung. They say she did something bad. I'm holding on to my father's hand. He's squeezing my hand. The people are yelling and fighting. My father pulls away. I don't have anyone. I'm all alone and scared. People are yelling and fighting. A soldier picks me up and takes me away. Now, let me stop this narrative for a moment. All past life immersions are not as detailed as this, but Lily went to a place and the details were really clear in her mind. She said a soldier picked her up and takes her away. And then she said, the soldier, it's Andreas. Andreas is her husband, in this life, that is. He was in the class. Well, I might as well tell you the rest of the story. Lily got up from the chair after she came out of the trance, and she glowed. She reached out her hands to her husband. He was, as I said, he was in the room as well. Well, Andreas ran up to her and they embraced. Everyone had a smile on their faces. Well, the upshot was that Lily's hand grew stronger almost immediately. Whatever forces were at work had released her. That was a dramatic one. Lily lifted her arm without pain and was, during that demonstration, apparently healed. Now, Lily's case seems almost obvious, as they are not always like that, where the situation in the past life seems to have a bearing on the problem. Not like that at all. But Lily's case was an exception. They come up like that once in a while. I've had a few like that, but usually the past life incident seemingly has no bearing whatever on the problem in this life. But I found, and I'll be saying this again because it is important, matter of fact, it's of prime importance, that is to simply observe and simply walk through the event without judging it, without trying to do it differently. You're an observer only. The inner conscious seems to always know where to take you and takes you to the right place. And that's the thing that we're going to do with the following module, but not with hypnosis, with meditation. The difference between the two is that with hypnosis, the subject only reacts to the hypnotist's suggestions. With meditation, you act on your own suggestions, not someone else. With meditation, you are always in control. Past life therapy was so successful that I decided to bring it into one of my personal development seminars where I was teaching in part the art of meditation. Now, meditation is used for many people simply to relax away the stressful conditions of life. But, of course, that's only one of meditation's many facets. There was a young lady in the class who asked if past life therapy could help with going into a new business. My reply was, I didn't know. It can't hurt, so let's see. I then had her go into a deep meditation and then bumped her into a past life, a life that might have a negative effect on her opening a new business. Well, she projected herself into the past life with the meditation exercise, and she found herself standing in a grassy field. There were people around her, apparently picking something from low-growing vines. She immersed herself in the scene and observed it, but nothing of any consequence happened. She walked through the scene a few times, watching, and then brought herself out of the meditation. Now, that seemingly has nothing whatever to do with her business, but somehow she felt a great sense of relief after that simple meditation, and she found a strong sense of motivation. She reported that her apprehension about the business had disappeared. A different kind of past life meditation came about during a class we were having in Cleveland, Ohio. A woman jumped into a past life where she was a Native American from some tribe on the East Coast. The year seemed to be that of pre-Columbus. The problem she was trying to solve had to do with the sale of a piece of property. It had been up for sale for 2 years, and even though the price seemed to be right, it just wasn't selling. As a Native American, she imagined that she lived in a community that had a permanent camp near the ocean. She imagined this idyllic life with children running around, campfires outside each tent, and a room where the elders met that had been formed with 3 trunks and branches. It was like an elaborate daydream, she reported. A month later, she called to tell me that she'd sold her property, but she couldn't believe that the past life regression had anything to do with it. And my answer was, what's the difference? Maybe it was just a crossover of timing. It would have eventually sold. Maybe it was just time for it to be sold. Then again, maybe, just maybe, the regression did lend some energy to the event to make it come about. In that same class in Cleveland, there was a woman who had a rash. It seems that she'd had the rash for 2 years. Her doctor prescribed a salve to ease it, but the rash persisted. I was tempted to use energized water, but this was a class in past life regression, and so back to a life that had something to do with the problem we went. She found herself in a city in Europe. She thought it was Paris, but she wasn't sure. She walked along one of the streets and kind of window shopped. She came to the end of the street and was attacked by 2 men who stole her purse. She screamed for the police, and one uniformed officer appeared who chased the 2 men, and eventually she got her purse back. She came out of her meditation. About an hour later, her rash grew less, and by the end of the day, the rash had disappeared. Now, there have been many tales with respect to past life therapy, as every time I did a demonstration, something of a positive nature happened. In my own case, it involved money. The year was 1975. I was with 3 of my friends, and we spoke of money consciousness. I was asked how a past life immersion could help to develop the right consciousness to attract money. I said, well, let's see. At that point, I helped the 4 of us to reach a deep meditation. It was kind of a group meditation that I was leading. We all picked out a figure, and I said I would look for $10,000 in this life coming to me from a positive source or sources. Instructing them to go to the past life that was holding them back, I went into a past life myself. I found myself in a forest. It was like a daydream. I seemed to be a hunter. I just let the vision happen, and I imagined that I was wandering through the forest. A deer suddenly appeared, and it startled itself, but I guess I startled it. It ran off into the depths of the woods. I had a bow, and I quickly pulled an arrow from my quiver and shot at the deer, missing it by a wide margin. I walked over to the arrow and put it back in my quiver. That was about it. Now, what that had to do with money is anyone's guess. But I long learned not to question what happens when in a meditation trance. Just observe, walk through the scene, and so I did. After that, we all discussed the places we'd been, and after a while, we left. 3 days later, I received a call from a relative that he was giving me and 2 other family members $10,000, as he had just had a windfall. Now, I would be the first to admit that it probably would have happened anyhow. But there's always that seed of doubt that says, maybe. Maybe something was set in motion at a deep universal level. I don't know. I do know that over the years I've had many stories pretty much like that about money, health, business, and a slew of other problems that were solved by a simple past life immersion and observing whatever scene comes up. Now, during the next module, we're going to go through a past life immersion. But first, a bit of instruction. First of all, you want to activate your intent. You must activate your intent. To do that, you simply think about a specific outcome that you want to happen after the meditation. What is it that you're using past life therapy for? Money? Health? Business? Relationships? Attracting something? Repelling something? What? Once you've decided that you have your target, something is keeping you from it. Now, that thing may be in a past life. Once you have the thing you want corrected in your mind, then you listen to the next module. Now, while in the meditation state, you'll find yourself somewhere. It may be familiar, it may not be. It may not seem to have anything to do with the problem that you're looking to correct. It may not. You may not get a particular scene at all. You may just get an imaginary, a fog-like thing. You may get a sense that something is going on. It may be just darkness. It doesn't matter. Whatever scene you sense, just allow it to happen. Don't be concerned about it. Just observe it, walk through it, or just view it as though you were there watching yourself. That's all there is to it. It sounds too simple? Well, that's because it is simple. But just allow it to happen, walk through the scene, and once again, if it works, it works. So, next module, find a relaxed place, and we will begin.